Today we're doing lesson 4.4, compare and order decimals. So we've talked about the math warm-up. We decided that an estimate that's too low was 1 7/10. About right would be 2 meters, and too high would be 3 meters. Now we are on page 119. It says order the numbers from least to greatest. Use the number line if it's helpful. So we're going to use the number line on the first problem. And before we can use the number line, we have to label the number line, right? So we know that we've got a 0 here and 1 here. So to find out what our denominator is going to be, or what decimal we're talking about, we've got to count the spaces between 0 and 1 whole. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So our tick marks are going to be labeled with tenths, okay? So the first one is going to be 1/10, which looks like 0.1. Make sure you write these really small because we're going to have to add a 0 behind them as well in just a minute. So 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 10/10, 1 1/10, 1 2/10. We are on page 119. So this is that page that you had written on accidentally. So you may have to erase this top part. You won't have to erase the bottom part, but erase the top part. Okay. You notice that most of our decimals have 2 decimal places, which is 2 numbers after the decimal. So our number line only have 1 number after the decimal. So we need to add zeros behind them to make the equivalent. So this is 1/10 or 10 hundredths, 20 hundredths, 30 hundredths, 40 hundredths, 50 hundredths, 60 hundredths, 70 hundredths, 80 hundredths, 90 hundredths, 100 hundredths, 1 10 hundredths, 1 20 hundredths. Everybody have that labeled? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Now, if we look up here, do you see something that we need to do before we can move on? Take your headphones off. Athena?
We need to label the numbers on top. We
Nope.
need to from the least to greatest.
Nope, not yet. There's one thing that we should do before we start with that. Colton, what do you think?
Find the decimals that are on the top on the number line.
Well, these are the number line. These are what we need for the number line. We're
Yeah,
good.
but the decimals above the number line.
Well, there's no decimals above
No,
them.
I mean,
He means like the decimals
so
that
1 in
Let
100,
him explain. Huh?
1 in 100, 800, 80, 10.
No, we don't find these quite yet. There's something before. There's something we need to do first. 2 numbers behind the decimal. 2 numbers behind the decimal. 2 numbers behind the decimal. 1 number behind the decimal. 2 numbers behind the decimal. 2 numbers behind the
Oh,
decimal.
I don't know.
What should we do? Athena?
put a 0 behind the 9/10.
Good girl, yes. Thank you for reading it correctly. We need to put a 0 behind the 9/10. Then they've all got 2 numbers behind the decimal, just like our number line. You with me? Okay, Now we can start labeling or finding our points on our number line. The first one says 1 and 800ths. Tell me, raise your hand if you want to tell me what two numbers 1 and 800ths are is in between. What two numbers it's in between? Macy?
78.
No.
Oh.
Avis?
It's in between 100 hundredths and 1 and 10 hundredths.
Good. It's between 100 hundredths or 1 and 1 and 10 hundredths, right? Think, guys. Think about this. So, okay. So we have one whole, and then we have 1 and 10 hundredths. And we're looking for where 1 and 8 hundredths would be. This is kind of like 1 and 0 hundredths, right? So 1 and 8 hundredths would be right in there. Is it going to be closer to the 1 and 0 hundredths or the 1 and 10 hundredths? Avis, go ahead.
1 and 10 hundredths.
Closer to 1 and 10 hundredths because it's bigger than a 5, right? Okay, so let's mark it right about here and label on top 1 and 8 hundredths. All right, the next one that we have is this one. I want you to tell me what that says and where it would go. Colton?
8 hundredths,
Okay.
and it would go between 0 and 10 hundredths.
Nice job, Colton. That's exactly right. Is it going to be closer to the 0 or the 10 hundredths?
It's gonna be closer to the 0. No, the 0. No, I meant the 10 hundredths.
Okay, so this, what did you say this is called again?
1 and 8 hundredths. No, 8 hundredths.
Just 8 hundredths, right? Is 8 hundredths closer to 0 hundredths or 10 hundredths?
10 hundredths.
10 hundredths, right?
Because it's bigger than 5.
Exactly right. So we're gonna write 8 hundredths right here. Okay. Haziel, what's this say? 80 hundredths, and where would we put that? At 80 hundredths, right? Very good. All right. Okay, next. Fisher, what's this say?
90 hundredths.
And where would it go?
90 hundredths.
90 hundredths. When we write it, guys, I want you to write it as 9/10. Write it as the same thing it started with. Putting a 0 on it helped us find where it goes, but I want to record the original number. Okay. What's this and where would it go? Jackson?
45 hundredths.
And where would it go?
In between the 40 and the 30. 30 hundredths and 40 hundredths.
No.
50, 40 hundredths and 50 hundredths.
It'd be between 40 and 50, right? Okay, there you go. All right, so 45, and it would be right in the middle, right? Because 45 is right in between 40 and 50 hundredths. Okay. Evan, what's this one say?
54 hundredths.
And where would it go?
Between 50 and 40. 60 and 40. 50, 60 and 50.
Okay, so say the one that's going to be in front of it first.
50 hundredths and 60 hundredths.
Okay, and is 54 going to be a little closer to 50 or a little closer to 60?
50 because it's not larger than 5.
Exactly right. There you go. Nice job. All right, now we need to put them in order from least to greatest. Can we easily see which the smallest one is now?
Yeah.
It's going to be the one closest to what?
0.
0. You got it. All right, so 8 hundredths is less than 45 hundredths, is less than 54 hundredths, is less than 80 hundredths, is less than 9 tenths, is less than 1 8 hundredths. On the next one, we're going to put the numbers in order from greatest to least. So that means the biggest one is first. And we're not going to use a number line this time. We are going to use place value. So if you're comparing a number like 2,000 and a number like to a number like 200, which is bigger? Shout it out. 2,000's bigger, right? Because it has an extra place value. It's got a digit in the thousands place. This one doesn't have. So we're gonna let's look at what we've got up here. Let's look at the numbers in front of the decimal. Okay? So first, we've got a 1, a 0, a 0, a 0, a 12, and a 0. Which is the biggest one? Cameron?
12,000.
Nope, that's not a comma, that's a decimal. So it's just, what's this number right here?
12,000.
No, just 12.
And 500.
Nice job, you got it. 12 and 500. That's the biggest one because it's the only number that has a digit in the tens place, right?
Mhm.
So Cameron, when you see a number like this, it doesn't have a digit in the thousands place. You're used to seeing 4-digit numbers and thinking thousand, right? But this just has, we look at the digits in front of the decimal, and that's a 12. And then we use the decimal point to say the word and. This is 5 hundredths, okay? Make sense? All right, you give yourself a point. So 12 and 5 hundredths is the biggest. What would you say is the next biggest? Zerelda, which one do you think is the next biggest?
1 in 50.
1 in
25.
25. What?
1 in 2,500.
Good job. Yes, exactly right. 1 in 2,500. So now we've gotten rid of our numbers that have a non-zero digit in the ones place, right? So we've gotten rid of our two biggest. That leaves us with a 0, a 0, a 0, a 0. So that means we have to go to the next place value. In the next place value, I have a 9, then a 4, then a 0, then a 2. So which number would be the next biggest? Audrey?
9,500.
Yes, 9,500. Okay. Todd, what would come after that? So look what we've got left. We've got a 4, a 0, and a 2, which is the biggest. Which is the biggest? 4 is, okay, are you saying this one? Okay, so this is the number that you're saying. How do you read that? 4 tenths, right? If it's only got one decimal place, you say the word tenths. So 4 tenths is the next biggest. Okay. And that leaves us with, Evan, what would be the next biggest?
9/10.
Okay, so we have a 0 here and a 2 here, which is bigger. 25 hundredths would be the next biggest. And then the last one, Jackson, what you got?
900.
Very good, that's exactly right. We don't say zeros in front of a number, we just read that as 9 hundredths, okay? Good work. All right, you guys get all that?
Yep.
Huh? Okay, well, we're going to the next page, so you should have been writing as we're going, Esmeralda. You know that. Okay. All right, next page, last page. This says the table, 400 meter dash and a flash. The table shows 8 of the top runners in the women's 400 meter event. Their best running times listed here put the runners in the world's top 25 for this event. So a 400 meter, Athena, is one full lap around the track at the high school. So if you ran at your top speed around the entire track one time, that's 400 meters. When I was in track in junior high, I did the 400 meter event. That was one of my events that I ran.
What placing did you get?
So my best time was 1 minute and 14 seconds, which is a whole lot slower than these ladies. But I was.
Are those in seconds?
Those are in seconds. Yep. So, yeah, they ran it in less than 1 minute.
I thought that those were
Nope.
minutes.
Nope. The names in the table are arranged by the runner's best time. The fastest runner is at the top. So when we're talking about the fastest runner, do you think her time would be the biggest or the smallest? The smallest. Because if you're running a race, the faster you get it done, your time's going to be smaller, right? So if one person ran it in 10 seconds and another person ran it in 20 seconds, this person, even though it's a lower time, is the faster one, right? So we're looking for the lowest. So we're going to put these in order from least to greatest. Now we're going to let's look at the tens place first. What do you notice about the tens place on all of these? They're all what?
Fours.
They're all fours. So that's not going to help us. So we need to then go to the ones place. And if we look at the ones place, we have 8, 9, 8, 9, 9, 9, 8, 9. Okay, is that going to start helping us a little bit?
Kind of.
So we can, the ones with 8 are going to be the faster times, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and circle the 3 times that have an 8 in the ones place. Because those are the 3 fastest times. Okay? So now let's figure out which of those 3 was the fastest. So we have 48 and 37 hundredths, 48 and 7 tenths, and 48 and 83 hundredths. Okay, so if we look, we've got a 3, a 7, and an 8. Which is the smallest? Fisher?
48 and 7 tenths.
Nope. Autry?
48 and 37 hundredths.
Yep, that's right. So Fisher, the reason I pointed out these digits is because we're comparing those. This isn't really a 7, it's a 70,
Oh.
okay? So, if we ignore everything after it, if we're, and we just look here, we can say, well, 3 is the smallest, so it's the fastest. This, if you look at this and say, oh, that's a 37, that's a 7, that's an 83, then you would think the 7's the smallest. But what I usually do to help me compare is when I've got 2 decimal places and I'm comparing 1, I add a 0 behind it. Just like when we were adding the fractions that had some 10s and some hundreds, we added zeros behind the 10s. Yes?
I noticed that they're all in order, like from the smallest to biggest.
Yep. Okay, so we have 48 and 37 hundredths of a second. That is the, what have you got?
I'm sorry.
Hand it here. Nope. Okay. You know you're not supposed to be drawing during math, right? Okay. 48 and 37 hundredths. What would be the next smallest, Haziel?
48, 700.
Or 48 and what?
700.
If it's only got one decimal, place, then you say tenths, okay? 48 and 7 tenths. I'm gonna give it to you, Haziel, because you read it correctly as 48 and 70 hundredths, but since they gave it to us as 7 tenths, that's what we wanna write it as, okay? And then that means that third place would go to the person with what time, Devin?
48 hundredths.
No, 48.
48 and 8300.
There you go. Very good. 48 and 83 hundredths. Okay. Now, so we've got the top 3. Now we're going to go to the others. So we have, they all start with 49. So we've got 49 and 3 tenths, 49 and 26 hundredths, 49 and 7 hundredths, 49 and 28 hundredths, 49 and 5 hundredths. Okay, so let's look at those a second. The 49s are all the same. So now we need to look here. Okay, what's the smallest one? Jackson?
The zeros.
The zeros. So which one is the smallest of the 2 zeros?
49 and 5 hundredths.
Very good. 49 and 5 hundredths. 49 and 5 hundredths, okay? So that one can be checked off. All right, what's the next smallest? Ari?
49 and 700.
Say it a little louder.
49 and 700.
Yep, just make sure you say that and in there. 49 and 700. You got it. I just couldn't hear if you were saying and or not. I think you were like, 49 and. All right. So next, we've got a couple 2s and a 3. What would be the next smallest? Avis?
49 and 2600.
There you go, yes. 49 and 26 hundredths. Okay. And then we've got 2 left. Cameron, what comes next?
49 and 2800.
Very nice. Yes.
I love your earrings.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I like it when they like jingle.
They're jingling all the way. Emma, what's the greatest time? $49 and 3/10. Yep. Okay. So we've got them in order now. It says put the times in order from least to greatest to match the times with runners. We've done that. Then it asks how many seconds did it take Sonia Richards to run 400 meters? How many seconds did it take for Sonia Richards to run 400 meters? Mary?
48 and 7
Yes, ma'am. 48 and 7/10. Very good. 48 and 7/10 seconds. And then Zerelda, what was Allison Felix's best time?
49, 2600.
You gotta say, what do you say for this?
Bam!
Okay, so try it one more time.
49 and 26.
There you go. 49 and 2600 seconds. Okay. So the I am going to stop the video, and then we're actually going to talk through page 125 because a lot of students had some trouble with that practice page today. So I want you to go to page 125.